Good evening, everyone. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's such a pleasure to be with you all this evening and to share with you a topic that has become very dear to me. I mean, this is a time when I think we all were affected in one way or the other. And so before I start, I want us to have a few minutes to reflect on how the corona pandemic has been for you. How did it affect you? And we're talking about you, not your neighbor that was ill, not the friends, This is a moment for you personally. What impact did this virus have on you? What impact did lockdown have on you? The sort of emotions, behavior, your well-being, how was that affected? So just take a minute and just focus on you seeing yourself throughout this pandemic period and even now. Okay, thank you. Um, I don't know about you, but when I was 13, I had to get these things. And it wasn't cool. It wasn't, there were just maybe one or two other people in my class that had glasses. And I really didn't want glasses. I really didn't want to wear them. So my mother, being quite clever, she said to me, you see, now you have 20/20 vision, perfect vision. You can see everything very clearly. And so that gave me a little bit of solace. And then I started thinking that maybe 2020 is a perfect time. It's a time when everything goes smoothly, when nothing sorrowful or bad happens to anyone. And then down the line in 2004, I believe, the Horizon program, they had this series, and it was called 2020 Last Days on Earth. It's very scientific, and that's my kind of field. So I was really intrigued by it. And it was all the top name scientists, physicists, mathematicians, uh, AI technicians, people in the field of biology and geology. So everybody was giving their opinion, and it was 7 deadly things that can wipe off life on Earth as we know it. And so then there was a twist in my expectation of 2020. I was expecting something very tremendous to happen, but nothing that would really happen. I thought that when 2020 come, there will be a change, but nothing had prepared me for this type of change. It seemed to be a promise of a new decade of action. But what we saw was a drastic respite from the pace of life. The world slowed down. Our way of life changed because of COVID-19. The coronavirus pandemic represent a completely different, unprecedented circumstance, as novel as it is life-threatening or life-changing, really. No event in recent history has affected us as a human race as profoundly and pervasively as this virus. And what we saw was health was now a priority. We saw the effects that the pandemic had on global and local economy. We saw governments scrambling to balance lockdown and stimulus packages to curb the effects of a recession that looms inevitably. We ourselves have made changes to our lives in the way we live, how we move, how we socialize, and even how we eat. And what has emerged is a new normal. That is a re-evaluation of what society values. And so, what is this new normal? According to Wikipedia, a new normal is a phrase that denotes a condition, a behavior, or a state of things that is atypical, but then becomes baseline, casting a long-lasting effect. Now you see what this is doing to us. It's becoming a way of life. Whoever thought that more than a year down the road, we will still be in the same situation? Although it seemed to be lifting, but not for long. It seems to lift and then continue. So in the old reality, and before I even go into values, I just want to give these two little aspects, and then I want to dispel any misconception that we might have on values. But in the old reality, what did we focus on? We focus on creating certainty, like predictable, steady lifestyles. We focus on creating autonomy, individual needs. We focus on growth in terms of profits. In this new reality, we shift our focus. We shift our focus to appreciation of who or what is essential in our lives. So hence the term essential workers, key workers, these low-paid workers that we didn't pay much attention to. Essential workers is not people like me being academic or professional. It was the garbage collectors, the delivery people, the nurses, the care workers. These have become essential. So we have shifted to appreciate those workers who go out of their way, leave their home, put themselves on the line of fire, so to speak, for our good. Then what we also see was a shift in connection. Now we are connecting with the less fortunate and the vulnerable. We also saw a shift in contribution. Whereas we're looking at more an autonomous and a profit-laden growth, we're looking at doing things for a greater good. And so this is the scenario that we're in now. And you're wondering, how will values fit into that? So let us look at what values really is. Values are not based on what I have. It's based on me, who I am, how I think, how I feel, how I speak and act, the vision I hold of myself. That's values. Now notice, I cannot go to any supermarket and find any of these things on the shelf. I cannot go to the pharmacy and ask for prescription of any of those. I cannot go to the tailors and ask them to design something that will bring this value to me. Neither would I find it in the farmer's market on the stores. Neither would I find it in the post office. So it's nothing outside of me. It's within me. And the values I hold are the same values you hold. The thing is, maybe I'm more aware of my values and you might not be aware of your values. But there is a little switch that happens when there is a crisis. It brings out the best in us, we say. And the best in us are really the values we hold inside ourselves. We become laden with them. And so I'm going to look at values in terms of groups because there are many values. And I know the Living Values program has isolated 12 values. I'm going to look at 3 core values in terms of bombs that are filled with little particles, but they're all values in themselves. So when we list this real bomb, the big bomb, all these little values just disperse and everyone experience it the way they need to experience it. So the first value I'm going to look at, and I'll put that slide up here, the first family of value, and you know this value very much, is love. And love is appreciation. Appreciation brings us to the experience of love. And why is that? If you think of your own self, when you feel appreciated, do you not feel that you're loved? That someone actually cares about you? And all these are the little filaments or the little particles inside this great big bomb of love. And so love is a core value. And what it is it's a basis of building resilient, sustainable systems. Our current system, society, is fed by supply, demand, supply, demand. We become like these hamsters on a treadmill, supply and demand. And what happens is when there is a short in the cycle, what happens? A recession, or the economy suffers in some way or the other. And what that is telling me, that this is fragile. This way of looking at building a society is fragile. And so what we need is to build love-filled societies, love-filled, sustainable and resilient societies, one that can minimize the effects of any disaster and also sustain us after the disaster has passed. And we have seen some windows of this, in fact, quite a lot of it in this pandemic. We have seen people displaying love-filled behavior by coming out on their balconies and singing for the essential workers. We have seen people coming in front of their houses, opening their doors and clapping for the NHS or for the police or for, oh, they didn't get so much nice press, but for the delivery people, you know, just being appreciative. And what that does is, you know, one person said to me, but yes, appreciation is good, but these people needed monetary gain. Yeah, monetary gain is fine, but what is the monetary gain when you don't feel happy to get up in the morning and go to your job place? What is the monetary gain when you are in a job that you hate, that you don't feel that anybody appreciates what you're doing? You're just doing it for the money. Anything you do for just for the money, you never enjoy it. You're never happy. But when there is appreciation, you have that kind of zeal, that enthusiasm to really do more because you feel that people appreciate what I'm doing. Money, position, and power, small. Small part of the formula when it comes to taking care of our most valuable assets, the people who comprise our workforce. That's the most valuable asset. It's not how much we have in our GDP, and it's not things like that. It's keep your workforce happy, your economy will thrive. And there is actually researches that show that cultures that are built on love and appreciation contribute to cultures of power, passion, and productivity, because people know that they are appreciated. They know that they matter. So appreciation is part of the vitality of relationships. And vital relationships are what produce the best that our society has to offer. I don't know if you'll agree with me, but we could talk about that in the question and answers if you want to keep a little note on that. We all need to feel that we are important in the lives of others. Even though it is often not said, it's not spoken about, but we need to be seen. We need to be valued. We need to be considered. And when we need to know this is today, not any other time when it is too late. Today, we need to know how precious we are to humanity. So that's the first bomb that we can explode out into the world, and it makes such a difference. This new normal will actually be shaped by us being just loving, not wanting anything in return, just loving, because that love will make a difference in how other people respond. It also makes a difference in how I feel. I feel good. It's in myself when I'm giving rather than just receiving. But there's a catch. When I give, I always will receive. It comes back to me naturally and easily. I don't have to think, will this come back to me? Then it's conniving and it doesn't really work well. And you get depressed and disappointed. So the next group I want to talk about, they are more like light bulbs rather than bombs. So this is the light bulb. And this is one of the 12 values from the Living Values program, is that of responsibility. Responsibility goes hand in hand with confidence and the feeling of control of one's own life. You know, you mightn't think that responsibility give you control over your life. You mightn't even think that you have control over your life. Many have said that, well, what can I do? This defeatist attitude makes me feel that control is outside myself. But really, when I have the values, control is not outside myself. It's within myself. I can control the way I look at things. I cannot control events and situations that are happening in the world. That's where we become unstuck because we want to control those things. And those things we cannot control. What I control is the way I deal with those things, the way I work through them to get where I want to be. I have that control. I have that control where I don't want to think of this anymore, but I want my mind to remain calm and peaceful. And it's happening out there, like a movie. I might be influenced by it because I've seen it, but my thoughts and my attitude are directed to me staying stable in my sense of responsibility, in my sense of love, or in my sense of peace. So embracing the value of responsibility means being accountable, being committed, and accepting ownership of one's decisions, actions, and behavior. If I cannot accept my own actions and I'm still labeling blame, there is no growth. There is no happiness. There's no peace for myself because it will always be them over there, not me. It's them over there. It's that one. It's not me. It's this one. J.K. Rowling said it very nicely. She said, there's an expiry date on blaming your parents for steering you in the wrong direction. The moment you are old enough to take the wheel, you are responsible. Responsibility lies with you. Winston Churchill also said that the price of greatness is responsibility. When we are responsible, it means we are capable of making rational and moral decisions on our own. We don't need advisors. We don't, sorry, I just need to stop my phone. Yeah, we don't need advisors. We don't need anyone to tell us what we have to do or what we shouldn't do. That naturally comes with the area or that light bulb of responsibility. It opens up a clear path, and we are ready to be answerable for ourselves. We are already answerable for our behavior. It means that we can be trusted and depended on. It means that our word to others, our word to our own self is good and it can be relied on. So you see now the light bulb of responsibility, what is it doing? It's bringing trust. It's bringing decisiveness. It's bringing that feeling of being reliable, being honest, being truthful. And that's the light bulb. So we have the love bulb and we have the responsibility light bulb. Feeling responsibility is a good feeling. You know, when you take responsibility, how do you feel? Do you not feel like, wow, I'm really great? Like when Winston Churchill says, the price of greatness is responsibility. As a matter of fact, it's essential feeling if we are truly going to live up to our potential. If I am going to live up to my full potential, I need to stand up and take responsibility for wherever I am and not say, I am here because, but I am here and I know I will be where I want to be soon. I acknowledge and I move on. And so I begin to enjoy the relationships I have around me. I begin to live happy and fulfilling a life. And I know for me, what I did when this pandemic came, the first 8 months of the flare up of the pandemic, when everything was locking down, I was in Ghana, in West Africa. And for that 8 months, I practically stayed all indoors. But what I did was find ways of taking responsibility for my happiness. So this has happened, and you can't move around freely, but I was free. And I was creating, I was making flowers from paper and doing what is Japanese thing called again? Origami, teaching myself these things. I was doing films. I am making, now I'm really good at making movies and editing movies. And it's all the things that I take responsibility for my happiness. I take responsibility for my well-being. I didn't want the government to provide something for me to be happy. I can do that myself. And so that was one of the things that I did in order to show my happiness is not dependent on anything external. So responsibility, as we saw in the little ad that is still under the screen, goes hand in hand with confidence and the feeling of control of one's own life. We need to understand that if someone is hesitant to work in the office, to go back to the office, it doesn't mean that that person is irresponsible or that person is weak or that person might be too fearful. But what it simply means is they have seen the effect of being comfortable and flexible with their time, and that created more productivity without stressful encounter or costly commuting fears. So they're taking responsibility, sorry. And I always feel that when I take responsibility, I feel fully charged. It's like if I pull back some of the energy that I've lost in labeling blame. It's like I pull that energy back to me and I'm working on 100% energy level. When I don't take responsibility, what does that mean? some of my energy goes to where whatever or whoever I'm blaming for the situation I'm in. So I'm not on full power. I'm working on very less power. So these values in itself are these energy fields that radiates from us. Sometimes you don't even know what you're radiating. People are responding to you based on the values that you're radiating or the values that you are not radiating. So you wonder, why is this person being so negative towards me? Check yourself. What am I radiating? What am I radiating in my thoughts, in my words, in my action, that I am getting this response? If my value is of love, if my value is of taking responsibility for my happiness, then what does it take for me to smile with anyone? What does it take for me to say hello to anyone, even if they look disheveled and sitting on the street or digging in the bin for something? Can I not just tap them on their shoulder and say hi? Or can I help you? It doesn't take anything. And that energy, that person feels it and they remember that. They mightn't remember your name or what you wear it, but they will remember how you make them feel. How you make people feel is based on your energy level coming from your values. And this is how the values will shape the state of our society as we move along, or as our community move together. So the final family of values I want to look at, this one is really close to me, and it's another one of the 12 values, and it's that of simplicity. I must say simplicity is me. I just love things that is very simple, nothing too complicated. If it's too complicated, I'm out of it. Saying so, I'm a mathematician and people find that complicated, but I find it completely easy and I don't see why there's any complication in it anyway. So simplicity, and simplicity goes with its friend generosity. From simplicity goes generosity and sharing. So you see now, here we have you ever seen the dandelion flower? Dandelions are very nice if you eat in the leaves, but they can be very evasive. And the dandelion flower is this bulb, and it's all these little furry thing that's just blows through the air. Simplicity is like the dandelion flower. And what it is going through the air is things like generosity, sharing, gentleness, kindness. All these values come when we release, we blow that flower bulb of the dandelion. And so I, for one, love to be simple. But again, to be simple doesn't mean that I'm stupid. You know, when you say someone is simple, sometimes you think that they're not too right here. Human beings have become just like magpies. We love to collect shiny things. We accumulate stuff that looks good, but might not be necessary. We just have shiny stuff. But what is its purpose? It's just there. And excuse me, we have become a throwaway society where food waste is the biggest issue we have right now. If it was a country, then food waste will be the third biggest contributor to the greenhouse emissions. And still it's continuing, even at a time when people really need it. You know, all these goods that are sell-by date has reached, rather than give it out because of litigation, it's dumped. I have delivered delivery of this odd box. I don't know if you've ever heard of odd box, but it's from the farmers and it's all those vegetables and fruits that are not so shiny looking or a little bit wonky, too small or too large for the supermarket shelves. And so weekly you get this box of vegetables and it's quite cheap really, and it comes from the farm. And so if we actually, we call it rescuing vegetables. So every week you rescue some vegetables and they tell you, these are the vegetables and fruits you're rescuing this week. And so we rescue them from being thrown away because this is our society. We are a throwaway society. We throw away clothes. Well, the clothes now is a big business for third world countries, particularly African countries. So we give them to Oxfam or Salvation Army, but you think it stays here. Some does, really, those that are really looking that it can bring a profit for the organization, it stays here. But many of them are bagged and are sent to third world countries and it's being sold. You know, in Ghana, they call it the bend down market because it's just spread out on the sidewalk and you have to bend down and choose what you want. And it's very affordable, £2, £3. But they love it because they get in foreign clothes, foreign shoes. And so it's all the things we throw away. And what happened in this pandemic now is that simplicity avoids waste. It teaches economy. It avoids value clashes complicated by greed, by fear, by even peer pressure, and a false sense of identity. From simplicity, we see already that it grows into generosity and sharing. Simplicity is putting others first with kindness, with openness, and with pure intentions. And the key thing here is without expectations and conditions. If I am showing kindness and openness and I'm giving and I'm having pure intentions, I must not have any expectation that whosoever is on the receiving end will give anything back to me. I don't need it because I have it. I have learned how to harvest my values. So I can give it. I will never lose it. It's within me. No one can stick their hand inside of me and take all my values away. No thief can come and do that. So it's safe. It's within me. And the more I give it, the more it will grow. It's like a never ending flow that is continuous. And so when I am giving with pure intentions, I'm actually not putting a condition. I will give you because I like you. It's easy to give to someone you like. But is it easy to give to someone who has been pressing your buttons time and time again? Is it easy to give love to that person? Is it even easy to show a deed of kindness to someone who really gets onto your nerves? It's not that easy, but that's where the most benefit comes from, when you can do that to someone who really you think is not deserving, but you say, I'm going to give them because it's not going to take anything away from me. And when you do that, what comes is that heartfelt feeling of contentment, a contentment that is so strong that you feel, wow, I'm wonderful. And that's a kind of greatness also that we're looking at when we start using our values. We may not have chose it, but our lives have become simpler based on the pandemic. And that simplicity is not, it didn't come because of the things we have, but it came because we find ways to appreciate the things that are near and dear to us, our family members that we didn't really have time for before, but now we have time. Things that we keep saying, oh, eventually I'll get to do that. I buy books and I said, yeah, I'll read this on one day when I have the time. Well, the pandemic gave us time to do all the things that we wanted to do. So living simply doesn't mean living without. That's a myth. When we think if I have to live simply, I have to do without this that or the other. It just means living with only what we need. And it's there on the screen. Living simply doesn't mean living without. It means living with only what we need. And what do we really need? Not a lot. For me, it was an opportunity to declutter, to eliminate the unnecessary burdens that weighed on me. And when I say declutter, I don't have a wardrobe full of stuff. So it's not that kind of decluttering for me. I don't have a space that is full of stuff. I believe in minimalism, but the clutter here, the things that I am constantly turning around in my mind, what I have to do, how will this turn out? So it just give me a moment to stop and declutter all the stuff that I have weighing heavy on my mind. That is even heavier than a closet full of stuff to get rid of. Because you can call your friends and to let them take whatever pieces they want. Or you can actually um, put the whole lot in a bag and take it to one of these charity shops. But the declutter here really takes a special value like simplicity in the mind to want to clear that space where I could be more kind, where I can be more open, where I can actually fill my intentions with only pure feelings and good wishes. And so this was the opportunity for me. And what I want us to do right now is to let's stop for a moment and reflect on what did you do to simplify your life? Or what will you be doing to simplify your life? Just take a moment to think about that. Okay? It will be different for everyone. But by thinking that your life is complicated, then you become fearful. Then you become rigid and you're unable to find solutions. But on the contrary, when we are simple and we trust that the solutions to problems is only a thought away, it's not somewhere in a distant, and we allow our capacity to find solutions to emerge from our inner wisdom by freeing ourselves from complications. And you might ask, how can I free myself from complication? Once I become free in the way I'm thinking, and it's not based on what society tell me I must think or I must do, and the freedom is within myself to think, what do I want to experience in my life? Then it's my choice to create those thoughts that will free me up from what society tells me I should or should not be doing or looking like or eating or the way I'm sleeping or exercising. And so once I become free, the realization comes the true needs of human beings are very few. There's not much things that we need. We just need maybe a simple meal. You don't need all of that. Just let's think about it. How many of you miss having that third coffee, that third espresso in a packed cafe? Do we really need that third cup of espresso? Do we need that wardrobe of filled with shoes that you probably wear once and you don't know when again you will wear it? Do you need that Christmas ball gown that you will wear once and then you probably give it to charity? Do you really need that? So, when we have that freedom, we begin to see what really matters and that we don't need much to make our life feel fulfilled. And we go beyond have and have not, and we just want to be able to be happy, maybe content, maybe free, whatever we may feel right. That's what we want to experience in our life. And life will inevitably become busier once the pandemic is over, whenever that will be. But we could see that in London here, that as lockdown, is it 2-3 weeks now? It's just been calmed, and so lockdown has been lifted. But people are packed out now. They're wanting to go back to their old ways, and you wonder, what have they really learned? And so the most important word I will feed to you in your vocabulary now is no. Learn to say, to avoid using this busyness creep that creeps in the mind and is, oh, I'm too busy to do this. No, I'm not too busy. No, there is no busyness. And so let me just pull it all together before we move, that there is this last slide that will actually take us to the basics, that the basics of life we looked at: love and appreciation, not to take granted even the simplest thing. Then the need to nurture good relationships through responsibility, respond to life's events rather than simply reacting by reflex. Less is more. Simplicity and generosity. Put others first with kindness, openness, pure intentions, without expectations and conditions. That doesn't mean put yourself out of the way. Putting others first doesn't mean to say that I put myself out of the way, but it means that whatever I want for me, I also want it for others. If I want to be treated kindly, I also want others to be treated kindly. And let us not forget that our values will shape the new normal.